Welcome to your final video lesson of the year. Today, you are going to start your very own time capsule. Time capsule. What is a time capsule? Well, it means that you're going to gather different things that remind you of your kindergarten year. You're going to find those items and you're going to put them together, put it in maybe a Ziploc bag, maybe a little box, and you're going to save it until you are older. Maybe when you graduate high school, maybe when you get married, maybe when you yourself are wondering what kindergarten was like. That's what you're going to do. You're going to open it up and you're going to remember all the wonderful things. So today, each of the teachers are going to chime in and share with you some thoughts on what you could add to your time capsule.
Hello, kindergarten friends. Coming at ya, Miss Simmons and
Sam. Hi.
back by popular demand. So this last week of kindergarten, we've missed you like crazy, guys. We want you to think about something that would remind you of what you learned in phonics. So here are some ideas.
Yeah.
I started with my very own time capsule box. I used a Kleenex box, just used a piece of paper, wrote my kindergarten time capsule 2020. You could put
Like ABCs and stuff.
Sure. I remember doing a lot of word learning, and I was thinking about using some of the letter patterns that we learned about. You want to hold that for me, honey? Sure. Thank you. Letter patterns like pie or shine or, can you read that one?
Hi.
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 We also did a ton of chaining, and Sam had an idea to actually like make links. So what we did was we wrote words on little strips of paper, and these were words that maybe you would chain, like ship became flip. And so you would just slide that through. Oops.
Technical difficulties.
Tape that together. Your parents can help you with that, or a brother and sister too. Just tape it together, and then you can make another word that would chain on that one. That was grip. So we did ship and flip and grip, practicing digraphs and blends, and then your chain could go in there. These are all just ideas, guys. You just have to do one. But these are some different ideas. We also did a lot of chaining, and I thought of another kind of fun way to do chaining, where we start by writing a word, like
Mine.
Mine, and then we could use just a plain old sticky note. I cut them in half and wrote a new letter on there. So mine becomes
Fine.
fine, and fine becomes
Line.
oh, you were so speedy. I couldn't even get it on there as fast as you. Okay, what's another one it could become?
Time.
Yeah. So we would go I'm. There we go.
Or you could do mine.
Mime?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could totally do mime. So we would just cut that sticky note in half and
Grab a marker.
grab a marker, that's right, and time could become mime. So you could do something like that to put into your time capsule.
Smack, smack.
You can use whatever you want for your time capsule, and these were just some ideas. We're gonna miss you like crazy, guys. I hope that you have a fabulous summer.
Yep.
Mwah!
The fabulous summer.
I want to talk to you about reading. So think back to your favorite story from this year. You guys, we read so many books this year. Raise your hand if you remember reading books this year. Awesome. What we are going to do now is we are going to share our favorite books because there was just so many. We have all sorts of stories from the very beginning of the school year all the way until now. And there's some books that you've read over and over and over again. But I want you to think about which books were most special to you.
I like the book The Gruffalo because when the mouse talks, the Gruffalo comes alive. the Gruffalo too. The very hungry caterpillar. The pout fish. The Gruffalo.
Another Gruffalo fan.
Jack and Annie. The mummy one. The buffalo. Jack and Annie. Polar bear.
Whoa! So many great books to choose from. How will you ever decide? You only have to choose one book. And when you do, get a sheet of paper. Write that title of that book at the top by and the author's name. Then you're going to draw a picture. Maybe it's the main character, or your favorite character, or your favorite scene from the book. You can even draw the cover. Now, if you love Jack and Annie and you want to draw a treehouse, you can even look up online how to draw a treehouse and follow that. But you don't need to. You can just use your imagination. Draw it, color it, and this will go into your time capsule. Have fun, guys.
Hi, boys and girls. I'm going to talk to you about some things that you could add to your time capsule to help you think about the math that we did in kindergarten. So my favorite thing that we did was the 3D haunted houses. One thing that you could do is you could go through your recycle bin, or you could look for something in your house that's a 3D object, and you could put it in there to help you remember the time that we made 3D haunted houses. So you could add a sphere or a rectangular prism or something like that. Another thing that we did a lot of is subitizing. We looked at the number of dots on a piece of paper or on a dice, and we tried to get really quick at seeing the number without having to count each and every one of the dots. So something that you might be able to put in is a die, or you could even just make a sticky note that has an arrangement of dots on them, and then you could call that your die, okay? The other thing that we did in math is we listened to a lot of Jack Hartman songs because it got us up and moving, and it was fun to listen to and help us think of those math concepts that we were getting ready to learn. So one thing that you could find is some old earphones laying around your house, and maybe you could put those in to help you remember like the Count to 100 song or the skip counting songs or even the shape songs. And another thing that we did all the time was our counting to 100. Right now you have your hundreds chart at home. Oh, I'm helping my friends with their time capsules. Yeah. So you could just put this in there. You could fold it up and put this in your box to help you remember all the games that we played with our hundreds chart, where we would sneak numbers away, or we would skip numbers, or we would count from one number and get to another number. That could be something that you could choose to put in your time capsule as well. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great time putting together your time capsule. And if you think of any other great ideas that I missed, you should definitely put them on Seesaw for us to see. All right, have a good one.
Hi, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Hogan. Today we're going to talk about all the things that we learned in science and social studies this year. I know that one of my favorite days all year, back when we were in school at Schaefer, was on those Fridays when we would rotate classrooms, and that was an opportunity for me to get to know all of you. And I loved when I'd have all the different classes in my room, and we could talk about the different things that we learned in science and social studies. And I know Mrs. Brule, Mrs. Simmons, and Mrs. Satz love those days as well. So we're going to do a little recap, and I want to first talk about one of the first things we did. I know in my room, our friends got to dress up as community helpers. So here I have, and so we're going to be doing a time capsule this week. So I want you to be thinking about what things you could put in your time capsule that is relevant or means something to you and things that we learned in science and social studies. So the first thing I want to talk about is community helpers. And one of the things I know, we had some policemen come, my son the fireman came, and we had several parents come and talk to us about those community helper jobs. And then we also got to dress up in my room. So here's a sticker, a policeman sticker I had at home. So I thought, well, that would be something, when I think about community helpers, that might be something that I would want to put in my time capsule. And you might have something at home that reminds you of community helpers, if that's what you want to choose to put in your time capsule. Another thing we did is we did a little bit of then and now, and that was kind of during our Thanksgiving time, and talked about how years ago, how the Pilgrims and Native Americans celebrated Thanksgiving and the different things that they did back then compared to how we celebrate now. And we talked also about like our cell phone compared to the way people used to write letters or communicate. So if there's something that is kind of reminds you of that then and now, that might be something you could put in your time capsule. We also talked about materials and fabrics, so maybe there's a certain material or something that in the different feels of materials and fabrics and metal, and that's something, if there's something that's special to you on one of those things and you remember that doing that in Miss Brulee's room, that might be something that you could do. We also did economics, and I did a lesson here on when I read Alexander Who Used to Be Rich last Sunday, and we used our little jar with money. You could maybe put a little coin in there to remind you of economics, if that's what you kind of choose to do. We also learned about weather and the sun, and I know in Mrs. Satt's room you made sun catchers. If you have that sun catcher, you could put that sun catcher in your time capsule or make a new sun catcher. That'd be a great thing to represent our science unit on the sun and moon and weather. Another is geography. So remember when I did my lesson on geography. I know some of you, many of you, did a map of your room like me, like I did. So that might be something that I would put in my time capsule as my map of my room. Or remember, we also talked about all the things that make us, that comparing ourselves to other children around the world. And we talked about the things that we like, that we maybe eat or that we do. Well, I know that I love tea, and I got this from Reese, but I love tea. So I would maybe put a tea bag in my time capsule because to remind myself about that geography unit. And then we've done animals and plants. So one of the things that we did with animals was that we did our guided drawing, and I made the dolphin in my guided drawing. You could put your guided drawing on animals and their habitats. We also did our plants unit. So maybe you could put, here's a little piece of my plant. I would maybe put that in my time capsule, a little piece of the plant I did. So there's lots of fun things that we have learned this year in our science and social studies. So I'll be excited to know what you guys put in your time capsule for social studies and science. I miss you all, and I'm excited to see many of you this week during pickup.
Looks like Owen has a question. Yes, Owen?
So it isn't a question. I just really need to go to the bathroom. Can I go to the bathroom for a second?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, he's so funny. I love how he was doing two very important things. One, he was taking care of his needs. And two, he was so polite and kind. So this summer, no matter where you are or what you're doing, I hope you do those two things. Take care of your needs and always choose kindness. So you can still lay out and look at the stars at night and count them, or at least try. You could stop and smell the flowers. You could pay attention to all the animals around you and the habitats. You can sit and spell anything you want. Let's start with summer. Ready? Summer. Do you hear the two syllables there? Summer. S-U-M-M-E-R. Happy summer, you guys.